I've been at Walt Disney World as a Photopass photographer now for about 2 months. And finally, we get the last bit of training to do what we've been waiting to do. Work with the characters. By the way, this one won't be safe for magic. So I started in June. It's now approaching middle of August or so. And we've had training and then shooting. And we've been working out on the streets, or Main Street, and all throughout the park, shooting pictures of the icons, the castle, some of the other backdrops in the park, group photos. And finally, after all of this time and refining our skills and learning to work with the guests and having a great time, honestly, it's finally time to get the last piece of training under our belts. There's a bunch of us that all started about the same time. I mean, a huge group. And so they brought us all in for a full day of character training. The day is actually split up into 2 spots, 4 hours before lunch and another 4 hours after lunch. The 4 hours before lunch is talking about procedures, different things that we need to look for, the way that we loaded the characters and took care of the line. We basically got a highly condensed version of character attendant training. So the people that you see watching over the characters and the lines, we basically got their training kind of squished, but enough so that we could run the lines, we could take care of the characters, we knew what the character attendants were going to do and how to do it, or we could step in for them if they had to step away. We actually had a couple photographers take that little bit of training and jump forward and actually get fully signed on as character attendants. Most of us didn't, but we could still do their job. And we could tell when we had one that wasn't able to do their job so well. Yeah. It was wonderful to get that training, because knowing how to take care of the guests, get them prepared, talk to them ahead of time, get your autograph book set up, here's what the character's going to do, made it much easier for the character, because that guest then knew what to do and how to do it, and the character could go through the routine. We did have a regular kind of outline for meet and greets. It later got refined and upgraded to what was called Pass. I'll have a video on that later, don't worry. Actually, I have an old video on that as well that you can still look up. PASS. But we were able to take care of anything that came up. And it allowed the character attendants freedom to go take care of the end of the line or whatever else they needed to. And a lot of us photographers in that group, the ones trained at that time, we could run that line fast. We'd have them ready because we were standing by the line while we were shooting for a lot of it. And so we could talk to the guests in line while we're shooting the pictures. We also talked about the kinds of pictures they wanted, how they wanted it lined up. Characters, it's a vertical picture with the whole family, including the feet all the way up, and then a close-up of them, the horizontal. So all of our pictures, pretty much everything, we had a vertical whole family pose and then a close-up horizontal. But characters, we also really wanted to get the candids. You wanted to get a picture of them signing the autograph book for the family and greeting them and playing with them and a couple other things. So ideally, we would get at least 5 pictures. That was our standard goal. I tended to shoot more. If I didn't have 7 to 9 pictures of a typical family group, I was a little disappointed because I wanted those candid shots. The candid shots for me were what sold the CD. Anybody could take a picture of the posed deal, and we would actually do that on the guest cameras for them later on. But those candids were the ones they couldn't get. And that's what I really wanted to get, because then they would go, oh, we got a post picture, but look at these other amazing shots. I don't want to lose those. So that was really where we shined. But that comes later. That comes after you finish the training. And the training was a lot of fun. Like I said, we learned about all of these kinds of things in the shots and the settings and all of that. Broke for lunch, had a good time, because at this point, most of us knew each other. We'd all started together. We worked together. So we're friends. We had a good time at lunch. Then we come back after lunch, and that's when the fun really begins. They actually had a couple of the characters come in. We had Minnie and Goofy join us. or at least the people who were friends with them in Disney terms. If you say that you're friends with somebody and it's a character, especially fur, there's a good chance they're actually saying that they're somebody who portrays that character. But we came in, they were partially in costume, and we sat down and we talked about everything we had learned earlier about our procedures, about the typical meet and greet and the pattern that it goes through, from stepping up to saying hi, to playing a little bit, to the autographs, to the pictures, and what to look for and how to move around and get it. The characters told us what they were looking for. Photopass was still pretty new to them at this point. Kodak had shot pictures of some characters, but many of the characters weren't used to a photographer. So here's what we'd like to see you do. That was invaluable, having the characters tell us what helped them and what we should look for. Then we spent an hour play acting, where the photographers took on the role of guests while we would jump in occasionally as a photographer, and the characters up there meeting. And so we had groups of us get together as a family of 4 with a couple of us on our knees playing as kids, as obnoxious guests, as mean guests, as happy guests. And we just kind of did everything we could to try to cover every guest type we could, so we could all see how the character handled it, how the photographer handled it, how the character attendants should handle it, and just went through all these different scenarios with the characters separate, and then we put them together, and we just had a blast. Had an absolutely fun time. We did give the characters pause a couple times so they could get the heads off and cool off, because those outfits are hot. And that way it allowed them a chance to give us some feedback on, okay, here's, what worked. Here's what we would do if somebody actually did that. And here's what we want you to do if somebody actually does that. And then we jump right back in again. After an hour of that, we all sat down. The characters got to cool off a little bit and get some of that heavy costuming off. And then we sat down and again, we talked with them. Okay, so here's what we were doing. What worked for you? What didn't work for you? What do you want us to do? How do you want us to work around you? And we're shooting candids. What do you want us to do? And it was just this invaluable time of learning from them what is best for them so that we could get the best pictures possible. One of the parts of that somewhere in there was they actually took the heads and allowed us to put them on. That, for those of us who've never worn a costume like that, to put on a character head is invaluable information, because one, you can feel how hot it is, how uncomfortable those things are, but you can also see just how limited their vision is. So again, at the risk of ruining some magic, many of the characters, their actual eyes are in the mouth of the character. Like Goofy, the way his head is open, when you look, it looks like the inside of his mouth, but it's actually this dark mesh that he can see through. Goofy looks through his mouth. Same thing with Pluto. It's why when they're signing autographs, you'll actually see them turn their head up sometimes, because they're trying to see that paper and they're having to hold it up like that. So they have to get taught to hold their head down, and they practice those autographs literally hundreds of times until they can do them without looking and do them the same way. So they were telling us about that. Definitely fascinating. But it's good because then you can see just how limited their vision is. And that's why when you see these videos out there sometimes of people saying, oh, that character touched them in an appropriate way, and they can't see, they can't feel. That stuff prevents any peripheral vision. The gloves and everything else, they can kind of get a little dull sense of something there, but they can't feel anything in there, really, not in detail or depth. So this idea that they're grabbing is just hilarious, because they can't. They're just trying not to run somebody over, especially the mice with those big ears. They turn and they whack somebody. It happens. So after all of that time, we then kind of broke up again a little bit, and we reviewed. Okay, so here's what's going to happen. Here's when you shoot characters. And again, all of us had an opportunity to kind of take everything we learned and we practice a little bit as if we were shooting. All those pictures got deleted, but at the end of all of that, They actually allowed some of us to go into the county bounty at the time in Toontown, because we were training in a practice room there. And some of us actually went in, we got to go meet the characters and go through a meet and greet as if we were a guest. I kind of snuck in, took off part of my costume, wore another part, and I still remember the characters I met. There was one that didn't want to take a picture with me because they're not supposed to take pictures with cast members in costume. And even though I didn't have my name tag or my vest on or other parts, it was still pretty clear it was a costume. Goofy took a picture with me. I still have that picture, but the others kind of got deleted because, characters didn't get in trouble. But it was fun to do. Fun to go meet them and see what it was like as a guest. It was a full day of training. After that, then we finally got turned loose. My first shift after that was up on Main Street, up at the entrance area, working with Donald. And that was definitely a nerve-wracking thing because I've had all of this experience, but the entertainment break rooms even were technically off limits to us still, unless we were invited in by the characters. Again, because we were new, they were still getting used to us. This changed much later on. But my first shift is up there with Donald, and my manager walks me over, and I very quickly learned how I wanted to start my day with characters. We walk into the room, their break room, and they're in various stages of getting ready. A typical entertainment character break room has, depending upon how many characters, several couches, a TV to watch, a little kitchenette area so they can make their food and keep it safe. They're usually pretty comfy. And then there's a changing room or changing rooms, so that way they can get all prepped. And so I walk in with my manager, and he says, "Hey, this is George. He's working with Donald today. Who's our ducks?" And there were two ladies that I was working with. Yes, remember I said not safe for magic. Donald oftentimes is a lady portraying him. And of those, I'm actually still friends with one of them today. But he said, "Okay, this is his first day. Let him know what you want." And so I introduced myself to them and said, "Hey, I'm George. First time, got the basic training, but what do you want me to know? What do you want me to look for?" And we talked for a few minutes first about what they wanted to see and how I'm going to work. And then we went out and did a set, walked out behind them, took pictures of them with the guests, followed the procedures, came back, followed them in when they were going to do the rotation. It was a warm day, so I want to say it was about 20 minutes or 30 minutes out there. And said, "Okay, how'd that go? What did you like? What didn't you like? What do you want to see me do?" I very quickly learned one of the things that will annoy a character to no end is if you count. Don't count when you're shooting pictures of characters. I've quickly got into a routine of doing the guest camera first. If I'm holding it, or if the character attendant's holding it, or the guest is. "Hey, everybody, look over there at the guest camera. Awesome. Now look here at Donald's camera. Boom, boom." And just very quick, take the picture, lock it, turn it, zoom in, focus, take the picture. Bam, bam. If you sit there and go, "Okay, 1, 2, 3, you're wasting time. They're staring. Just take the pictures. Counting will annoy very quickly. But they also help me know where to stand for candidates. When you get the good characters, "Hey, I'm going to be shooting candidates. All right, I will turn and pose for you. I'll make sure you can get it." There were a lot of characters that were great that way. And my first two ducks were awesome. They really were. And helped me just kind of get my feel for what was going on and what worked. And by the end of the day, I felt kind of like a pro. Hey, this is going good. And one of the things that really blessed me was they both sat down afterwards and said, "You've got it. You're good. Keep going and doing what you're doing. We're going to love working with you." I got to work with the one duck quite a number of times, both as Donald and then as other characters as well. And we just had a routine. I could walk in, "Hey, it's me. How's it going? I'm with you today." And awesome. And we knew what each other was going to do. And so we could just flow. And it was great. It was a lot of fun because I got in the habit of every time I worked with characters, I always Went into the break room first. Knock. Can I get invited in? Hey, I'm working with you today. What would you like to see? Here's my normal routine. I catch them as they walk up. I like to take a picture of the autograph. And then when they're there with you, I point to their camera and I make it big and dramatic so they can see it with those heads. It's over there. And then over here. And I say it loud so everybody can hear. And that way everybody gets good pictures too. Because if the guests can get good pictures and everybody knows where to look, you don't have them look in different directions and mess everything up. And then I promised them, the first thing that a lot of them said when I started out was, "Are you fast? Please be fast." Because we had some slow photographers. Okay. Yeah. And it's all that time. And you're just like, come on. There's 40 people in line. Let's hurry up. Yeah, I'm fast. You won't even see me. We had a couple of photographers. I don't think they were even from my group. I think they came in later, that actually would try to coach the characters on how to pose. Nope, you let the characters do the posing. You learn to communicate with the characters, part of it. The characters know what they're doing. You don't have to tell the character to strike a pose or to do this. They will do that, and they will show the guests how to do it. Even if they don't talk, they know how to talk. And so we just let them do their deal. The biggest thing that, as photographers, in addition to getting the pictures and coaching the guest, we would sometimes look for little ways to encourage interactions. So if, for example, I'm working with Donald, Donald has a rivalry with Mickey. Donald thinks he's number one, signs his autograph book, Donald number one. And so when he sees something from Mickey, he sometimes will get peeved. Not always, depends upon the Donald. But I would point out, "Hey, Donald, isn't that a great Mickey pin?" And then shut up and get out of the way and let Donald do his thing. It was just simply, "Hey, Donald, here is something if you want to react to, if you want to play with, if you want to interact with, here is something for you." And that was it. And that just came from conversing with the guests in line or listening to them. I got very good at shooting and watching what was going up there, but keeping an ear to the line. And again, that's just practice. All of that, though, came out of the training, learning how to interact, how to shoot, how to work with them. And by the time we got done with character training and our first days, it was like a whole nother level. And I can't wait to share how some of that all worked. And really, we had some of us that we were just like the synergistic unit. Walk in, say hi, kind of wave, and we were going and rolling. And it was awesome to see. So that'll come up in a future episode, though, where I will talk more about our interacting with characters and what we like to see and didn't see from guests. Would you like to know more? I definitely like to hear it. Did you find this interesting? Please share in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that like button, share the video, and subscribe. Thank you so incredibly much for my patrons, my financial supporters. You want to know more about that and the perks? Check the description below. Thank you so incredibly much for watching. God bless. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know your thoughts, your comments, your suggestions, your ideas. Be sure to share them in the comments below, or you can contact me. There's information in the description that has my email address, fan pages, information about merchandise, and so much more. So be sure to check that out. Don't forget to hit that like button, share the video, and if you haven't already, hit the button right up there to subscribe. And in fact, if you did enjoy this, I've even got another video for you right here. And also about these wonderful people here, those are my YouTube members and my patrons, the ones whose financial support makes this possible. I couldn't do it without them. If you want to know more about that and the perks that come with it, well, be sure to check the description. There's a link right down there. Thank you so incredibly much. God bless.